Hello, I'm Bryan Glick. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of Computer Weekly. Today we're going to be talking in this video about IT security. Now, I'm sure you've read, hopefully in Computer Weekly and no doubt elsewhere as well, all these stories about how increasingly sophisticated cyber attackers are becoming and the emerging threats to organisations as a result. But in reality, often the reason that organisations are so vulnerable is they're just not getting some of the basics correct. And we're going to be looking at some of the issues that raises. Now, to help me do that, I'm joined by two experts in the topic. First of all, Allbutt from Icomm Technologies, and also Florian Malecki from Dell Security. Gentlemen, welcome. Thanks very much for coming along. Now, Mark, I mentioned just then that your organisation has done some research into this area. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about why you did that research and in particular really what's going on in cybersecurity today and what this research highlights.
By all means. What we actually started looking at is how these threats come to light and why are people seeing these infections to the desktop, and the game over Zeus and the Zeus botnet was absolutely massive out there. We were seeing customers all different shapes and sizes with files that are being encrypted and held to ransom. So we looked out there and said, well, why aren't our normal customers having this problem, and what are we doing different, and where are these sort of newer customers or ad hoc customers having these problems, and we started tracing back through all of the path. Now, ultimately, most customers had some sort of virus detection on their desktops. They were patching their machines. They were doing the common sense things. And really that left down to one thing, which is turn around and say, well, is the firewall doing its job? Is it adequately protecting the network? And if something does get in, is it stopping it getting back out and actually sending the data out to the people that are trying to compromise these networks? So we undertook a survey where we took 500 medium-sized organisations, small and medium at random, not necessarily our own customers, and went out there and said, okay, well, what have you got and how do you use it and what does it do? We found that whilst a lot of companies would claim to keep their technology up to date, I think it was 1 in 7 of them haven't updated their technology in the last 5 years. We actually found when we asked the question in a different way and said, okay, well, how many people have a refresh cycle for their firewalls? How many people keep these up to date? Only a third of them admitted to the fact that they have no plans at all. So I don't actually think that 1 in 7 is necessarily showing us the whole picture. A third of them openly admit that there is no refresh plan for them, and 25% of them just honestly said, well, we don't know. Either we don't know when we're going to replace it, or we'll replace it when it stops working. Well, that's not really insecurity the right premise to have. No, yeah, insecurity when it stops working is often when your data's been lost, isn't it?
It's too late. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we see happening, obviously, with Mark from Icomm and other customers. They tend to replace when something wrong is happening. So they're more in a reactive mode than in a proactive mode, and that's where things start to go really badly. And especially SMBs, they might not have the knowledge nor the expertise. They tend to think, because they're an SMB type of organization, they won't be a target, and this is wrong. Especially those who might be dealing with bigger type of organization as a supplier. If I'm a hacker, I'm going to try to hit these to try to get into access to that bigger companies they might be dealing with, rather than trying to hit and target that bigger organization that will have the technologies, the knowledge, the teams, and so on and so forth. So I would say SMBs have to really, really be proactive rather than reactive when it comes down to IT security.
Mark, from the research that you did, looked at a number of different areas, of course. Any other key highlights that came out of that you think are particularly relevant to this discussion?
Yeah, I think that the surprising thing is how few people actually knew. So when the question was asked, I think some of the anomalies in the statistics would show that everyone's got a next generation firewall, and yes, everyone does penetration testing. The percentages were very high. And then when you ask the question, when you last replaced your firewall, people are saying, well, we haven't replaced it in the last 5 years. Certainly, 1 in 7 hadn't. A third of them said we don't have a refresh cycle, and 25% said we'll replace it when it breaks. There's a lot of challenges, and we often work with customers, with their IT departments, and it's difficult. Everyone wants to do a good job, everyone wants to be proud, and nobody wants somebody coming in, turning around saying, what's that, why is it doing it, and why haven't you done it this way? So we have to really make sure that we're working with these IT departments to actually help them and educate them. And we're not going in there to take anything away. We're not going in there to be a threat or anything else. But hopefully what we can do is help educate their directors and their CIOs and CFOs to actually say, this needs to move up the priority list.
So yeah, as Mark says, obviously, we work very closely with the IT security managers and directors or CISOs who understand the challenges. But one thing that we've seen very lately are, their executive guys, CEO, CEO, whatever, you coming to IT security and say, hey, what do we have in place? Because I don't want to get fired, as we've seen in recent example, if something wrong happens. I think it's definitely helping, obviously, our job as well, our partners' job in order to make sure that these companies are adequately protected.
That's great advice, gentlemen. Thank you very much for sharing your experience of the topic here. That's all we've got time for. A big thank you to our two experts today, to Florian Malecki from Dell Security and to Mark Allbutt from Icomm Technologies. Hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.